The body snatcher, Dillian Whyte, is back in action against Jermaine Franklin. Let's talk about it here on BWTM Sports. Don't go anywhere. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. Hope that you all are well. I keep apologizing for not being able to do these videos on a regular. I tell you, if you log on to, you check out Lagos Cricket Academy TV, you'll see the work that I'm doing, and you'll see that, and there's so much more work that's going on now that is taking up so much time. But I'm here today to talk about boxing. Let's talk about Dillian Whyte versus this man right here, Jermaine Franklin. I hope you all can hear me well. So let's talk about this fight for a second. I think that first and foremost, when this fight was talked about, I think a couple of years back or a year back or so, I always thought that Dillian Whyte was in danger in this fight. I think they announced that they were going to have this fight before Povetkin, and I always thought this was a dangerous fight for Dillian Whyte, simply because Jermaine Franklin comes to fight. He's got fast hands, arguably faster hands than Dillian Whyte, and he throws straight punches. A lot of Dillian Whyte's punches are very overhand rights and very wide punches, whereas Jermaine Franklin punches straight through the middle. If you watch Jermaine Franklin when he fights, he sort of throws the same combination all the time: 1-2, 1-2-3, 1-2, 1-2-3, like a not like a novice. I wouldn't say a novice, but just somebody who's predictable. He's able to be timed. When you throw the same combination over and over again, you watch him in his fights. He throws the same combinations over and over again. Now, Dillian Whyte has come off a knockout defeat to Tyson Fury. Also got knocked out by Alexander Povetkin by an uppercut as well. So you asked the question, was that a technical thing that came from his trainer, who did not pay attention to the vulnerability that Dillian Whyte had to uppercuts? But he had that vulnerability to uppercuts even when he was he with Mark Tibbs when he fought Oscar Rivas? Somebody's got to check me on that. But in the Oscar Rivas fight, he was caught with the uppercut as well, I believe. And then it was Parker hitting with the overhand right. So the uppercut has always been an issue for Dillian Whyte, it seems to me. Actually, and he got knocked out by an uppercut by Anthony Joshua as well. So the uppercut is a weakness to Dillian Whyte, yeah? I think all the times he's been hit with an uppercut is either via loss of concentration or tiredness. Certainly when he got hit with the uppercut by Anthony Joshua, it was tiredness. Povetkin, it seemed to be a loss of concentration. And I think against even Tyson Fury, loss of concentration, get hit with that shot because he got hit with a shot early in the round. Now, observations. Now, I don't know if it's just me and it's because I've been listening to a lot of Boys to Men recently, but Jermaine Franklin looks like that dude from Boys to Men. If you put a pair of shades on Jermaine Franklin, he looks like that dude who wears the shades and got the same sort of dreaded hair. I wonder if they're both the same guy, because he does look like him. Okay, jokes aside. My thoughts on this fight. I thought back then that Jermaine Franklin had a good chance of beating Dillian Whyte because of the things I said. But the problems I have with Jermaine Franklin are this. And I said that in this video, someone's getting chin checked and this fight is not going 12 rounds. And the problem with Jermaine Franklin is, yes, he comes forward and he's got fast hands and he wants to have a fight, but he sticks his chin up in the air like a giraffe. Much like Ryan Garcia, I think he's bringing his chin down. When you stick your chin in the air for like a giraffe, basically your chin is up in the air, exposed, so it can be knocked off your shoulders very quickly when you're throwing punches. So basically, have your chin in the air, throwing straight punches. That's a problem for someone like Jermaine Franklin against Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte has seen that in Jermaine Franklin's fights when he gets into a bit of a tear up. And Dillian Whyte's thinking, right, well, if he's coming with his chin up in the air, I can nail him with my overhand right. I can nail him with my left hook. I can have my back to the ropes and whack this guy with a left hook, and his chin will be up in the air. And that's the problem with Jermaine Franklin. He hasn't addressed that. His coach hasn't addressed that. So that's a big defensive flaw for Jermaine Franklin. And if he comes charging in through the front door, when I talk about the front, I always talk about coming through the front door. When I talk about coming through the front door, that basically means coming through in straight lines without any respect for what's coming back. It's almost like entering a room filled with military, and you are trying to rescue a hostage, and you're going straight for the front door without paying any attention to the fact that there's all military in there, and you could get your head taken off at any point. There's no sort of thought process. I'm just going to go straight for the front door. No form of defense, no form of tactic, no form of, concern of your own welfare, safety, life. And a lot of these fighters today, they've got that attitude where I'm going to bang you out. I can bang you out. I can knock you out. I don't have to worry about my defense. But this fight, Mr. Franklin, you're going to learn pretty quickly. If you don't get Dillian Whyte out of there, you're going to have some problems, because your chin is going to be up in the air and you will get nailed, either with that left hook or that overhand right. Dillian Whyte misses with that overhand right 9 times out of 10, but he'll hit you because you leave your chin in the air and you don't pay any attention to defense. And I think that's why Whyte has picked you as an opponent. That's why I think there's this rush to fight you. Plus, it's a step-up fight for you. Then, again, let's talk about Dillian Whyte, the new trainer, Buddy McGirt, a good trainer. The question I asked Dillian Whyte is, why now? You got knocked out by Povetkin. You brought in Howard the Shadow Knight. You still had... I can't remember the coach's name now. I'm sorry. No offense, but I can't remember the coach's name. You had the coach from North London, Neasden, boxing IQ or ring IQ. You had him in your corner, who was inexperienced, but you would want to give him the opportunity. And clearly, you saw he was inexperienced, but you still had him in your corner in the biggest fight of your career. And how the Shadow Knight, who's a far more experienced and accomplished trainer, was kind of left on the sidelines. I never understood that decision. Now you've gone with Buddy McGirt. The question is, are you going to appreciate, are you going to listen to Buddy McGirt? I mean, I saw the video clip of you training with Buddy McGirt, running in the sand. I can tell you now, running in the sand, when I was training, I used to box. I was training in America. I was training in Miami. I used to do the morning runs in Miami. Believe me, those runs on the beach, beautiful, burn your legs. When you do the running on the sand, it takes it out of your legs so much. But then afterwards, when you walk on the concrete afterwards, you feel like you're walking on air. It's a beautiful feeling. Even when you do the workouts in early in the mornings and you're hitting the pads and that sun comes up, that sun comes up, Miami sun comes up and you're hitting the pads, and you're on the sand. Oh my God, that's an incredible feeling, and you have to be there to experience it. So I think Dillian Whyte would have probably found that running up the sand dunes was a challenge, because it's not easy. It might look, oh, that looks easy. It certainly isn't, and I respect him for going out to the States and doing what's necessary. My concerns for Dillian Whyte is this too little too late? The way he's been knocked out, the ways he's been knocked out by Joshua, Povetkin, and Fury, and even the knockdowns by Parker and Rivas, they are, I don't call them flash, they're bad knockdowns. And I just wonder about Whyte's durability, one, And two, when Eddie Hearn had him on those back-to-back fights, pay-per-view, going nowhere. Remember I told you Dillian Whyte was going nowhere, and then back-to-back fights on pay-per-view, and he was milking the pay-per-view. I said, this is taking Dillian Whyte nowhere. Helenius, Chisora, all them fights. And boxing fans say, yeah, well, no, they were hard fights for Dillian Whyte, you know? And then the Rivas fight, the Parker fight, having to get off the canvas against Parker, having to get off the canvas against Rivas, couldn't be stuck to the canvas by Povetkin, being knocked out cold by Fury with one shot. You know, these knockout defeats have been brutal. And I just wonder now, I know he's talking the talk and, you know, I want to get myself back into world title contention. Punch durability, 1. 2, can Buddy McGirt adjust him? Has he got enough time to adjust Dillian Whyte not to get hit with an uppercut again? And 3, can Dillian Whyte get any better? Those questions. And is he good enough to win a world title? 4. Could he beat Tyson Fury in a rematch? I don't know on that performance. A lot of things were going on with Dillian Whyte in that performance. So, like I said before, it wasn't the best of Dillian Whyte. Anyone who's seen Dillian Whyte fight, that wasn't the best of Dillian Whyte. No excuses. You sign a contract, you talk about a fight, you get in the ring, you got to handle business, just being professional. It wasn't his night, we move on. But could you imagine Dillian Whyte fighting Alexander Usyk? I couldn't see that fight, to be honest. I don't know why he didn't take the Danny Dubois fight, because to me, Dubois is still a rank novice. You know, he's still very green. He's a guy, to me, that is very good on the front foot. But again, he's a guy that's got no defense. And if you back him up, he doesn't know what to do. I think Dillian Whyte's got a decent enough jab to back him up. And he punches hard enough to put respect on Dubois. Although Dubois hits like a truck coming forward, if he's pushed back, is he still the same force? You know? So I would have rather seen Dillian Whyte take that fight than this Jermaine Franklin fight. Because if it goes wrong against Jermaine Franklin, where does he go from here? At least he could say if he gets beat by Dubois, well, he fought for a world title against a guy who's a big puncher, and the only guy to have beaten him was Joe Joyce, and nobody's beating Joe Joyce. And Joe Joyce just finished beating up Joseph Parker in spectacular fashion, even better than what Chisora did, you know, or what Joshua did, or even what Dillian Whyte himself did. So when you put that in the mix, I would have rather seen Whyte fighting Dubois on that same night. But it is what it is. We've got Jermaine Franklin there. How do I see this fight turning out? Well, it's a pick'em. I'll tell you why I say it's a pick'em. Because I don't know about Whyte's durability. I don't know if... Because when the punches start flying, how much of what Buddy McGirt's taught him is going to come into play? I don't know. If Franklin can get in there early and he can buzz Whyte early, because I'll tell you, if he buzzes Whyte, because Whyte said he can't punch, well, he's a heavyweight. Every heavyweight can punch. And, you know, he's not exactly in a position at the moment to be talking about punching power and stuff, because he's been chinned a few times in his career now. And that isn't to say he can't win this fight. He should win this fight, being the experienced fighter that he is. But he's also had experience of being knocked out. He's had experiences of being knocked out, and not once now, not even twice now. That's 3 times he's been knocked out, and they've all ended up somewhere along the line with an uppercut. Jermaine Franklin's talking about an uppercut. Jermaine Franklin, if that is not your punch, I would suggest you don't throw that uppercut, because you already have your chin in the air. And as you're trying to throw an uppercut, you will leave your chin out to dry. Another thing, Jermaine Franklin, you spent time in camp training with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is 6'7". He's long. He's got long arms. Yes, Whyte's got long arms. That's it. Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte don't fight anywhere like one another. If you were going to fight, you come to camp and you were going to prepare, I'd have probably sparred with Derek Chisora. That would have made more sense than to spar with Tyson Fury, who's tall and long, Why would you spar with Tyson Fury? What the hell is Tyson Fury going to teach you? Apart from using a sparring partner and beat you up. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Boxing makes less and less sense to me today. What the hell are you doing sparring with Tyson Fury? You should be sparring with Dillian Whyte, sparring with Derek Chisora. Chisora's got a fight coming up. Chisora is what? 6'1", 6'2", a push. Whyte 6'3". They kind of fighting similar styles. Like bring it to you. Tyson Fury is more like on the back foot, using the jab, box, pam, punch, switch from orthodox to southpaw. It's just two different leagues. So I don't understand why he's sparring. I do like the fact he's in England. I do like the fact he's practiced in England for a while. I like that. I didn't like the way he came across in the face-off. I didn't. It's like when I saw Dillian Whyte talking to Joseph Parker, I knew that Dillian Whyte was going to rough up Parker by the way Parker was talking. Parker was talking like he already made it. This guy here talks, he talks very similar in a way in his mannerisms to Errol Spence. Oh man, and he talks and mumbles under his breath, and I sit down and look, and like Jermaine Franklin just does not convince me. He doesn't convince me, and he allowed Dillian Whyte to talk to him and disrespect him and just disrespect his ends, disrespect him, where he comes from, what he's about. He violated him. And Franklin didn't have much to say back. Now, I like to kind of read into the way people talk on these things, and it just seemed to me that has the occasion gotten to Franklin? I don't know. He's fought on Showtime already, so I don't think that's the case. Maybe he's one of these guys who talks more with his fists than he does with his mouth. But in terms of promotion, terrible, absolutely terrible. But that doesn't mean the guy can't fight. That doesn't mean the guy can't come and cause an upset. In fact, if he upset Dillian Whyte, I would not be surprised for the reasons I've given. I don't know if Buddy McGirt is going to be doing a botch-up job with Dillian Whyte. I don't know if Dillian Whyte is actually listening to Buddy McGirt. I don't know. There's a lot of question marks about Dillian Whyte. He'll come and fight, as we know. He'll come and fight. But if he struggles against Jermaine Franklin or he gets knocked out by Jermaine Franklin, yep, it's looking down the barrel for Dillian Whyte, to be honest with you. And maybe then he might get off for the Dubois fight. But if he gets knocked out by an uppercut again, he's not learning his lesson, So he needs to be switched on for 12 rounds of this fight. He needs to put the fear of God in Kurt Franklin now. My dear me. Those who know who Kurt Franklin is, just put that in the comment section. Have a little laugh about it as well. So I like Jermaine Franklin. I like the way he fights in bursts. He puts combinations quickly in bursts, but I don't know much more about him. I've seen him fight a few times, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Dillian Whyte was fast to want to fight this guy. Faster to want to fight this guy than Luis Ortiz or Andy Ruiz. Those guys who can knock you out of your hand. And it was interesting to see, if you listen to the build-up to this fight in the face-off, where Dillian Whyte was talking about Franklin, he said, knock who out? And he actually rubbished Franklin because he couldn't knock anybody out. So he's basically telling you that he's in the top 10, but he's not very good. But then in the same breath, he's telling you he is decent. You got to forget, he forgot he was promoting the fight. And then Eddie Hearn talked about, well, if you knock out Dillian Whyte, you've got Anthony Joshua around the corner. So can you imagine that Eddie Hearn is looking at Jermaine Franklin as a potential fight for Anthony Joshua? A fight that I actually think Joshua wins and wins pretty easily. I'm not sure about Dillian Whyte, though. I'm not sure. How I see this fight going, though, is Franklin bringing the fight to Dillian Whyte countering with a hard left hook, and it being on a knockout highlight reel. I see that. Or I see Franklin jumping on top of Dillian Whyte, throwing him a confident, a barrage of punches, and again Dillian Whyte back to the ropes, being knocked out through the ropes. Those are the two scenarios I see. But somebody's getting chin checked in this fight for sure. This is not going 12 rounds. I can't call who wins this fight. You go with experience, but when you go to experience, you go to what they've experienced. And there's where the problem lies. Have you learnt your lesson? And with Jermaine Franklin, because this is his step-up fight, it doesn't mean he can't step up. And it doesn't mean that he can't win this fight. Whyte's been chinned before. He can get chinned again. So stay tuned to this fight. I think it ends up being a brawl. I think Dillian Whyte's going to take the fight to Franklin. And by him taking the fight to Franklin, I think he's going to be looking for counter-punch opportunities, bringing Franklin on with his chin in the air to get hit with the left hook or the overhand right. Stay tuned. This one could end inside 6. Either way. Thanks for watching BWTM Sports. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments, share the videos. Always much love to you all. I'm out. Take care.